Once upon a time, Warner Brothers wanted Quentin Tarantino to direct Green Lantern. QT was tempted by the offer, but ultimately passed, explaining that while directing the superhero movie would have been a dream job in his 20s, he'd since outgrown the genre. But that wasn't always the case. Way back in the 90s, after Reservoir Dogs, but before Pulp Fiction, Tarantino attempted to bring two different Marvel characters to life. The first was Luke Cage. Quentin was a huge comic book collector growing up, and his favorite titles were Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, Werewolf by Night, and Tomb of Dracula, basically Marvel's B-team. But his absolute hero was Luke Cage. After releasing Reservoir Dogs in '92, Quentin had some clout as a director, and he decided to use that clout to meet Ed Pressman, producer of The Crow, Judge Dredd, and owner of the Luke Cage movie rights. For Quentin, there was only one man for the job. He wanted to hire Lawrence Fishburne as the hero for hire, an actor he described as practically Marlon Brando. Now this was a good 7 years before The Matrix. While known, Fish wasn't the household name he'd eventually become, but in the end, it didn't matter. Quentin let his friends talk him out of the project. In some heated casting debates, they argued Wesley Snipes would make a better Power Man, as Luke Cage needed to have the bod. Quentin explains he was so turned off that would be their both starting and ending point. Not only that, but the conversations were the final nail in the coffin to QT adapting any pre-existing superhero. It literally put it in my head that if I do a comic movie, it should be an original character. It should be something I create, rather than try to fit in. As to what Quentin thinks of the live-action Cage we eventually got, to tell you the truth, I love the way the character was presented in the 70s. I'm not really that open to rethinking who he was. I just think that first issue, that origin issue, was so good. And it was really Marvel's attempt to do a blaxploitation movie vibe as one of their superhero comics. I thought they absolutely nailed it. Tarantino eventually dabbled in the blaxploitation genre with Jackie Brown, a film led by Coffy and Foxy Brown star Pam Grier. And it's interesting to note that, while Cage fell through, Quentin again attempted to work with Fishburne on Pulp Fiction. The actor was his first choice to play Jules Winfield. While he turned it down, I think we can all agree Tarantino's second choice wasn't too shabby. From Power Man to the Power Cosmic. Quentin hinted at the second character on his Marvel wishlist with a subtle piece of art direction in Reservoir Dogs. Inspired by Richard Gere's reading material in 1982's Breathless, Tarantino completed a 500-page Silver Surfer screenplay. He pitched those pages, written entirely in longhand, to rights owner Constantine Film. The German studio passed, as the visual effects would have been too costly, and the titular character would have spent the majority of the movie in his human form, Norrin Rad. Also, you gotta remember, this was pre-Pulp. While Reservoir Dogs made a splash, Quentin was not yet the superstar he'd eventually become. Constantine would go on to make a notoriously low-budget Fantastic Four film with Roger Corman, and the Herald of Galactus finally had his big screen debut in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. What are your thoughts? Would you have wanted to see Tarantino's Luke Cage and/or Silver Surfer movie? Or would the famous filmmaker be a better fit for another superhero film? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe.